Members, we have a quorum. This is the appointed time, and we have received a letter from Dr. Chang Shung Tai. He would like to withdraw his membership of this subcommittee. So we accept that, right? Let's invite the administration to come in. The attendance list is attached to the papers tabled, so would members please note that. First item on the agenda, information paper is issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat issued a number of papers, and we'd like to follow up on a number of issues raised at the previous meeting. As per the meeting of the 23rd of March, we raised certain issues for follow-up action. Still, we haven't received a supplementary response from the administration. There are 3 major items with 7 small items. So as of the 23rd of March, regarding the meeting of the 23rd of March, we haven't received a supplementary paper. I'd like to have the administration's response, please, because supposedly we have received... Yes. Deputy Director. We mentioned last time the pilot scheme that is in relation to shopfront extension, and our response is that once time is right, we will provide information to the subcommittee. We have been liaising with the police, and we're now in the process of engaging other government departments, and after seeking advice from the Department of Justice, we can then give an account to the subcommittee. Deputy Director, we had 3 items last time under this subcommittee in relation to improvement of environmental hygiene and cityscape. We should have 3 items. If we're able to discuss the supplementary paper as well, we could have completed all the items at this meeting. Otherwise, there will be another meeting because you're unable to provide a supplementary paper and we are unable to address your response or have a discussion at this meeting. So perhaps pending your paper, we will have another meeting. Perhaps I will defer to the Food and Health Bureau to respond to your question on follow-up items. Once information is ready, we will give it to the subcommittee as soon as possible. The last meeting was held on the 23rd of March, and still we are awaiting your paper. I'm sorry, we need to have another meeting then. First item on the agenda, improvement of environmental hygiene of public markets and public toilets. Deputy Director, you have a PowerPoint? Yes? Right, with the aid of a PowerPoint, we will brief members on the work and measures of the government in improving the environmental hygiene of public markets or public toilets. Now, we thank the Chairman, Mr. Chan, for his concern. The FEHD has been taking a multi-pronged approach in improving the facilities and service of public toilets so that through public education and monitoring, we can enhance the overall hygiene and service levels of public toilets. In a moment, we will brief members on the FEHD's work and various measures in improving the environment and facilities of public toilets. In the first slide, we'd like to brief members on refurbishment or enhancement of public toilets. We consider a number of factors when we conduct construction, refurbishment, and facelifting of public toilets. For example, the need for the provision of new public toilets, whether there are toilets nearby available for use by the public and tourists, the estimated uses for these new toilets, and whether the new toilets could improve the environment. We also need to consider the feasibility of providing new public toilets. For example, whether there is suitable government land available, environmental technical constraints, power and water supply, etc. There are also other considerations. For example, the resources required for a new toilet and views of nearby residents and district councils. Apart from constructing new public toilets, since year 2000, the FHD has implemented the public toilet refurbishment program, which gives a new look to public toilets with better facilities to bring a facelift of these facilities. And in the budget 2019-2020, the government announced that the government will allocate over $600 million to roll out the refurbishment or facelifting works for about 240 public toilets under the government's management by phases in 5 years, so as to improve toilet facilities and enhance cleanliness and hygiene. For the first 2 years, we've completed works for 91 public toilets under the Enhanced Public Toilet Refurbishment Program. As of the 31st of March 2021, close to half of these enhancement or refurbishment works have been completed. We are going to kickstart 50 other projects of refurbishment or facelifting. Now, members are concerned about the facilities, and the FHD has been working seamlessly with the ASD in enhancing the toilets to make sure that they can blend well with the surrounding environment and to keep up with the times so that public toilets can be safe and decent and reliable. Depending on the actual circumstances of the public toilets, the FHD will decide on the exterior design, the facilities and materials to be used. For example, we'll try to make sure there is good ventilation, and we'll try to maximize the use of natural lighting and also innovative designs. For example, in Repulse Bay, there is a public toilet with a theme that is aligned with the beach there. At the same time, we also liaise with the Tourism Commission to collect views from tourists on public toilets. And we also take a thematic design layout with color schemes and also special designed facades to provide a unique outlook of these public toilets at tourist attraction spots. I can give you some examples. For example, the public toilet at Southern Centre in Wan Chai and Peak Tower Public Toilet in Central and Western District. While carrying out the refurbishment and facelifting works, having considered the actual circumstances of the public toilets, the FEHD will decide on the design, exterior design, materials and facilities to be provided, and based on their circumstances, beautification work will be carried out. That is, for example, the Ableu Street public toilet. It's really a hot spot, photo spot. Apart from Ableu Street public toilet, we also have the Meifu Sunshine Bus Terminus public toilet with the feature of Keep Clean Ambassador Artec to promote public education on public toilet hygiene. Equally important is to enhance the management of public toilets. Now, as we all know, the FEHD managed public toilets are open 24 hours a day, and they are thoroughly cleansed at least twice a day. For highly utilized toilets, we also deploy toilet attendants to ensure that they are cleansed even more frequently, to ensure that toilets are clean and hygienic, and toilet paper and liquid soap are replenished as soon as possible. Also, if facilities are damaged, they can be reported to the Works Department and the contractor for follow-up as soon as possible. The FEHD will review the data on a regular basis, such as the utilization rates and complaints received, to examine the room for improvement of service. Since 2018 September, For public toilets at tourist spots or with high utilization rates, the FEHD has stepped up inspection at least once in every work shift, and we also step up monitoring the contractor's performance to ensure that deep cleansing service will be conducted on a regular basis. We also enhance the performance standards when it comes to the outsourced cleansing service contracts. For example, they're required to keep the floor dry at all times, and the facilities should be free from stains and dirt. They should be free of foul smell, and the toilet facilities should be of proper performance. The FEHD also has a management mechanism for the contracts. We'll monitor the cleansing service contractors' performance according to the code of practice. We conduct, for example, spot checks and regular inspections to monitor the work of contractors. And to enhance the maintenance and repair mechanism, starting from March 2020, the RHSD and EMSD have been joining hands in developing a minor works order record system mobile app so that repair requests would be made to the RHSD and EMSD via the app to facilitate tracking of the progress of repair works so that we could address the issue of mismatch in maintenance records and discrepancies. We can also systematically collate management data for further analysis and service enhancement. Also, under COVID-19 pandemic, there is a need to further enhance measures to keep the public toilets clean. In light of the pandemic situation, the FEHD has enhanced management of public toilet facilities. For example, for toilets with toilet attendants, they need to carry out cleansing and disinfection with 1:99 diluted household bleach once every hour. And depending on the manpower situation, the frequency could be stepped up. And to reduce the risk of spreading virus, since August 2020, for public toilets with high utilization rates, we have been using antimicrobial coating at about 270 public toilets, and the coating will be applied to frequently touched surfaces such as doorknobs, handrails, hand dryers, etc. And since the middle of 2020, sensor-type hand sanitizers and sensor-type toilet seat sanitizers have been installed in public toilets by phases to encourage the use of alcohol hand rub for cleaning the hands, and to use alcohol for disinfecting the seat before use. Please speed up, Deputy Director. Now, members are also concerned about the use of technologies and innovative ideas. The FEHD has applied technologies in a number of areas to enhance management and repair. For example, we have the nanoplasma-driven catalysis air purification technology, nano-confined catalytic oxidation technology, microalgae green wall systems, and atomized ozonated water technology. We also use antimicrobial coating to inhibit the growth of bacteria and viruses, and a prototype of smart public toilet system is also being developed. The FEHD also joined hands with the RHSD in running a competition called PT 2.0 Public Toilet Design Competition to unleash the creativity of the public and the construction sector to come up with innovative designs for cleaner and better public toilets. They've also co-organized a design thinking program called Toilet Tales, Rediscover Public Toilet, to gain an in-depth understanding of the needs of various stakeholders and to explore innovative ideas in the design, management, and service of public toilets so as to develop a blueprint for ideal and modernized public toilets in Hong Kong. On public education, the FEHD has dedicated web pages, also Facebook pages of Keep Clean Ambassador RTEC, and we also have publicity stickers. In January 2021, this year, a dedicated thematic website was launched to consolidate the efforts of FEHD on environmental hygiene and improvement of public toilet service. Regular updates will be reported. We must understand that in order to effectively keep our public toilets clean, we need a collaborative effort with participation of stakeholders and members of the public. We need your support. I believe that members will be giving us a lot of invaluable views. So we'll be happy to take views from members, and we'll be happy to take questions from members. Thank you.
副處長，咁街市嗰部分
Thank you. You have no introduction on markets, don't you? Well, the facilities are similar because of the pandemic. Once every 3 months, there is deep level cleansing. It is implemented in all markets. And also for anti-rodent campaign in 73 markets, we've done that. And just like the public toilets, we've also sprayed the antimicrobial coating in highly touched areas in public toilets of the markets, depending on needs and feasibility. We have made improvements to the facilities. On various aspects, we work with the Market Management Committee and work with them on the progress and listen to their advice on making improvements to the markets. Thank you. Those who like to ask questions, Mr. Orr, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Quat, 5 minutes each. Ms. Orr. Thank you, Chairman. The 2 items are discussed together, but I will separate my questions. First, on public toilets. New ones are very good, with good facilities and well lit. That's good. But I'm concerned about the old public toilets. I'm concerned about timetable for enhancement and facelifting. Little has been said in the paper. I'm also concerned about the attendance. In highly utilized toilets and also in public in tourist spots, the public toilets have attendants, but they are working in cramped conditions. I thank the attendants, yet they don't have place to take a rest. Concerning the attendants, is there any space for the attendants to take a rest? If not, then concerning the toilets are to be enhanced or undergo facelifting, can something humane to be done to the attendants? Second, on maintenance, many departments are involved, such as HSD and EMSD. Now, there is a mobile app on improving that. Now, what is the difference with regard to reporting until completion of the maintenance work? Is there any improvement? I think not. I go to the public toilets very often. A few toilets can reach the objective of proper operation of the toilet. Sometimes the urinals are broken. Sometimes the flushing is out of order, things like that. And because of is it possible to improve the reporting of the faulty operation of the facilities? You need to improve that reporting system. So much for the toilets. Then the markets, a lot has been done on the toilets and on the markets. I understand that. But the same problems occur to the minor works improvements. There is bad coordination. The response is very slow because of the involvement of various departments. Can you speed up the process? Say a broken fluorescent tube. It takes 1 week to be replaced. That's really outdated. Will you regularize the Market Management Committee? At present, the Market Management Consultative Committee is held according to a schedule. I was a member. It seems that there is No regular agenda item. It seems that other departments are just sitting on their hands, and only the chief health inspector asks questions. Say, is there any way to improve the replacement of a faulty light bulb, or fluorescent tube, or a switch, or a handle? Rodent is a problem. In public markets, there is no adequate response to that. Is there any way to control rodent infestation in public markets? Thank you. To the members, to the member of the CEOs, I'll answer his questions in various parts, and then my colleagues will supplement. First, on refurbishment and facelifting of the public toilets. As I said earlier, in 2019 to 2020, in the budget, $600 million had been earmarked for 240 public toilets for facelifting and refurbishment. Works are going on. Now, concerning the toilets in the markets, that's a complaint. We've checked on this. Some public toilets in the markets may need to be improved. From time to time, we do have maintenance work going on. We do that day in, day out in terms of day-to-day maintenance. Concerning public toilets in the markets, if there is a need to make improvements, if we have identified that, we will incorporate that into our program. Is there a timetable? Mr. O asked for a timetable. My colleague can supplement. Yes, I've looked at the data concerning the need to make improvements. In the past few years, we heard the views and comments of members in respect of the attendance. And I've also reported that in the past few years in existing toilets, we have worked with the RHSD to make improvement to the duty room of the attendants in the public toilet. In refurbishing of facelifting projects, we will take the opportunity to make improvements. Let me give you two examples. In the central, near Exchange Square, under the Exchange Square, there is a public toilet. There is a space for the attendants. In Wan Chai, in the Central Library, we have also identified space to improve the duty room of the attendants. In tourism spots, which are rather remote, we provide the resting place or rest for attendants by way of a container. We've also reported to the LegCo through the Finance Committee. So maintenance of toilets, we have the Minor Works mobile app. That has shortened the waiting time. In the past, it is done by handwriting and then inputting in the computer, and that takes time. And in communicating with the works departments, paperwork is not very effective. So through the mobile phones, orders are placed with RHSD and EMSD. So in terms of efficiency and time required, improvement has been made. That's improvement to workflow. Now we have the management information through the computer, and we can give our views to the EMSD and RHSD. Let me give you an example. Say for purchasing a certain facility, the maintenance of that facility is rather frequent, and a lot of reporting has to be made. Having obtained such information will improve our choice. Say some facilities are more durable, they're more expensive, but at the end there will be savings, even if it's a bit expensive. So minor maintenance in markets, I've already responded to that by way of maintenance of public toilets. We'll continue to enhance our facilities in the public markets. As for the MMCC, we have regular meetings. We consult the members on certain measures and facilities. We also want to. Now, can you be precise and concise, Director? Now, on rodents infestation, I visited the back lanes. Now, as for the markets, because rodent infestation is an indoor problem, we have tried out some pilot arrangements. Say with the EMSD in Young Oak Road Market, we have installed movement sensors, just like they are doing in Singapore. This will help to identify the rodents and also the effectiveness of the rodent prevention measures. The sensors can report information so that we can better deploy our facilities in stemming out rodents. Maybe my colleagues can supplement. If there is none, then other members can ask questions. Well, anything to add? Yes, thank you, Chairman. Let me speak on the question in respect of the refurbishment and facelifting program. Before the 2019-2020 budget, there was no special funding. So the annual refurbishment was very limited. 7 in 2016, 17, and then 2018-19, just 13. After the budget is available in the coming 5 years, from 2019 to 2042 toilets, public toilets, 2020 to 2021, 49 public toilets, 21, 50 toilets, 23, 50 toilets, 24, 49 toilets. So altogether, 240 public toilets. Mr. Oh, if you have any supplementary questions, you can wait in the line. Mr. Tony Chair. The DD, please be concise when you answer questions. Yes, I just want to follow up on the hygiene of public toilets and markets, or rather the cleanliness of public markets. I've noticed that the government has done a lot on that. Mr. O referred to rodent problem. Why is there such a problem? Is it because the stallholders have done something wrong in terms of the placement of food and also in terms of cleansing? Have you looked into that? I don't know. The stalls, if the stallholders are not doing their part, that problem will still be there. In 2020, he issued 623 warning letters in terms of strengthening law enforcement and 292 prosecutions. You terminated the tenancy of 11 stalls. I don't know whether that's correct to say this. Concerning the termination of contract, does it involve or did it involve environmental hygiene issues? Now, concerning environmental hygiene, the stall holders should also be the stakeholders. They have to do something about it. As a public toilets, earlier on, with the $600 million funding, a lot has been done. People used to criticize the environmental hygiene of the public toilets, and I hope there can be improvements. Now, can you shorten your 5-year plan? There was a design competition, and also you made use of technology, and innovation. So can you make improvements?
Well, of course, you worked on less than 10 in the past. Now you have several dozen. That's quite a jump. But now that you increase the number, I guess practice makes perfect and you can speed up your works, especially in times of the epidemic. We need to provide more job opportunities for the various industries. Perhaps even the cost would be lower. So you manage over 800 of them, apart from the 240. May I know about the condition of the remaining? Because no work should be required, according to you. Otherwise, more should be done to improve the overall image of Hong Kong. So can you tell us something about the remaining public toilets? Would routine maintenance and repair suffice? Deputy Director. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for your comments. If need be, my colleagues will supplement. First, let me take your question on public toilets. Yes, we manage about 800 toilets. Now, in the coming 5 years, there will be 240 toilets. According to the member, the first question is whether we can speed up the work. And second, since we have collaborated with the RHST on the public toilet design competition and the workshop, it is for us to consider how we incorporate innovative designs and ideas in constructing new toilets. When selecting 240 public toilets, we consider, for example, the utilization rates, the state of repair, and members' views or views from the local community. If necessary, we'll follow up on those with higher utilization rates. And we've set out to our best ability a list for follow-up action. We do have public toilets in more remote areas. We converted the aqua privies to water closets. And yet there might be site constraints limiting the size of the toilet facilities. Now, apart from the 240 public toilets, which we'll work on as quickly as possible, we'll explore new construction methods, for example, the MIC, which could help speed up construction so that works can be done more quickly without causing nuisance. So in the next phase, we will be discussing with the RHST on the feasibility of different methods. And basically, this is how we strive to enhance efficiency and increase the number of toilets we work on. The member made a very valid observation about rodent infestation in public markets. We must not only rely on the cleansing work of the government departments or service contractors. Now, we conducted a pilot scheme to gauge the density of rodents, and we have drawn experience from that. In terms of deep cleansing service and rodent prevention, one important element is for market store tenants to be cooperative. They should also clear their sundry items at the stores, especially we have fresh provisions and perishables, organic items in the market. So if they're not stored properly, say if they're not properly covered or stored, and for example, if pork or meat is not properly received, there might be environmental issues. So in terms of rodent infestation, our work includes thorough clearing of refuse and clearing of communal areas and drains to eliminate the source of food for the rodent population, and at the same time maintain overall environmental hygiene, which could help improve tackle rodent infestation. So cleansing is not the only method. We're now carrying out the rodent infestation prevention work in 73 public markets. And drawing on this experience, we will continue to enhance our work in this regard. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. First, on public markets, it seems that public markets and rodents go hand in hand. It seems that this is a long-standing problem that cannot be solved. In the past, people would keep cats in markets to stamp out rats. Now that cats are banned, it seems that the problem remains quite serious. As I mentioned, just when I mentioned before, after outsourcing certain stores, they say that the problem could be solved. So you should work with different contractors and try out different means and ways and try to make it work, because we cannot singly rely on the government to tackle all rodents in Hong Kong. Especially, I think the infestation in public markets is especially serious. I think members of the public would like to see results. They don't care by hook or by crook. You need to tackle it. Next, about public toilets. For refurbished or new public toilets, of course, we have no question. Of course, we've checked the design. It seems that the exterior design and the facilities inside are all very good. But it is not just a question on hardware. Rather, it's a question on maintaining hygiene at all times in the future. Say you have 800 public toilets and some 200 with a high utilization rate. Your rate of refurbishing these public toilets is still too low. In other words, you have some 200 public toilets looking really nice, whilst the rest of them remain as dilapidated and problematic as before. Of course, the public won't welcome that. You need to speed up the refurbishment. As I explained, taking examples in other countries, of course, if we just rely on the government, work will definitely be slow and costly. I see in some cities such works will be outsourced to the private market. We often advocate the PPP model, so we should tap the market forces so that they can make the public toilets attractive and decent, and they can then manage the toilets, say, by allowing advertisements and charging for that. In other countries, I see that some of these public toilets are now tourist attractions themselves. So the government should aim at more collaboration with the community. Because after all, your work progress is way too slow. You can only work on a number of toilets a year. Whereas if you outsource the work, you can then renew the contract of those performing well and contract out those not doing well again. It seems to be a very long-standing issue, and it seems that you're unable to address the issue. And also with COVID-19 pandemic raging, members of the public are concerned about anything that they would come into contact with. Now, you're trying out the antimicrobial coating in certain public toilets. What's the result? If indeed this technology is proven to be useful, then would you consider applying this coating to everywhere that could be people would come into contact in other public toilets as well, as part of the overall anti-epidemic effort? Would you consider the number of suggestions I've just made? Deputy Director. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for the comments. Just now, a member mentioned, a certain method like keeping cats and we've heard divergent views and alternatives. Chairman, well, I'm not suggesting that they should keep cats. I'm just saying that there used to be a less serious rodent problem when cats could be kept. Right, we have sought views from different departments, including professional departments. In the interest of time, let me also supplement my previous answers. We mentioned just now in relation to refurbished toilets. Members also agree that improvement indeed has been made. But it's a challenge as to keeping it clean and decent in the long run. Apart from the effort of government departments, it is important to mount public education. Now, if we're able to keep the toilet nice and tidy, then people would use it in the same way. Now, members mentioned innovative ideas. We've joined hands with the RHSD in running this competition. The concept behind this effort is that we could seek the views of stakeholders and adopt innovative thinking in seeking solutions. So through various channels, we'd like to see if we could collect some new ideas. Point number 4 about the pandemic, I think members also support the application of antimicrobial coating and the sensor type facilities so that no contact is required. On the matter of antimicrobial coating, the contractor will be required to conduct an assessment. That is, we need to set up control to find out the difference between areas with and without the coating in order to gauge its effectiveness. Data will be available in the future, and once we're able to verify the effectiveness, we can then extend its application. But at the moment, we need to look at the assessment data first. I'd like to respond to that, Chairman. Just now you mentioned that my suggestion is good and you have this competition to collect ideas. The problem is, despite the innovative ideas, you will be doing the work. My point is you should not roll up your sleeves and do the actual work. You should consider collaboration with the community, because you should consider, for example, future maintenance and repair and keeping the toilets clean, which can equally be done by the private sector. If you outsource the work to an operator, then on design and maintenance, definitely they will be striving to make sure that the toilets are clean and tidy. So even with good ideas, it doesn't mean that the government itself can make sure that it will work forever. This is not what we want. Rather, we'd like to have some groundbreaking ways. I mentioned in some cities, public toilets are outsourced and managed by private operators. And this is really not something new. It's been tried out in various cities and proven to be a success. Why must we still think inside the box? Because we emphasize a small government, a big market. You should not dip your hands in everything. You should allow the private sector to operate. Yes, we can explore more innovative ideas. Please consider Ms. Quat's suggestion. Apart from collecting ideas, you should also enlist the force of the private sector. That means outsourcing the public toilet to a private operator for management, not just holding competitions. Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Chairman. In the past 2 years, at the Public Accounts Committee, a report was published to review the maintenance and repair and the hygiene of public toilets. Deputy Director back then also explain to the committee their work as well as innovative products.
即係近年
In recent years, in terms of cleanliness of public toilets, there has been improvement. I don't know whether it was because of the criticism of the public or the media and the PAC report. If you ask me, there has been an improvement in comparison to the past, in particular with regard to cleanliness and also the environmental conditions. As for the design, there is a time element. And as for maintenance, it also depends on time. And cleanliness depends on the work of the attendants and also the inspection frequency and also standards. Well, I am a bit nosy. I check on the public toilets. Improvements have been made. Thank you. My thanks to your colleagues. I will criticize if the performance is bad. So you can commend your colleagues, in particular. Those improvements have been made. One part is on maintenance and refurbishment, and the other is cleanliness. If the place itself is clean and beautiful, then the users will care about it. If the toilet is dirty, then people will just continue to make it filthy. And if the toilet is clean, then people will not throw the toilet papers about. So the message should be sent to those on the front line. According to the paper, toilets are open round the clock. Among the 809 public toilets, they are all open. You also have regular inspections. What is the inspection system, and what is the standard? Apart from having the chief or the manager, or even the director, will the managers or regional managers or even the director will check the cleanliness of toilets? Thank you. With regard to supervision, our health inspector, senior health inspector, and chief health inspector will comply with the guidelines and supervise and check, including on-the-site inspections. They will also vet the reports of their subordinates. They also check on the foreman, the daily inspection records of the foreman. Apart from sample checking and also checking on high-risk items, starting from the 1st of April 2020, we introduced a new inspection system. There are formal checks and then surprise checks based on risk. And inspection is made according to a system in order to supervise the work of the contractors. We also inspect the workflow and also the records and charts. We receive reports on hand dryers, and then we respond by issuing standards to the frontline staff and also the contractors. If they are not up to standard, there is a mechanism to deal with that. Warning, advice, warning, notices will be given, and sometimes fees will be deducted. We also have statistics and conduct analysis and plan for improvements. You have to wait in the next round. It's now my turn. I agree that some improvements have been made to public toilets, to some public toilets, in particular those that are heavily used. public toilets at tourist spots improvements have been made. That's enhancement of image, and people also benefited, and that's right. My concern is that there are more than 800, and you only work on about 200 or so public toilets in 5 years. Have you exhausted the money for the 240 public toilets? And if the remaining have to be improved, then will further funding be needed, and will there be arrangement for that? You worked on your plan in 2019-2020, and there are remaining public toilets to be worked on. How are you going to go about it? Maintenance is important. The biggest problem is maintenance. If something is faulty, then you close that facility, and then people will have to wait. Now you have to work through the contractor or the EMSD, and that takes time, a lot of time. Now public toilets new ones are very good, but old ones cannot be repaired. And you don't have the parts. I don't know whether you source your parts or you do your maintenance through the EMSD or other government departments. Is there a mechanism to ensure that within a reasonable period of time maintenance work can be completed and up to a reasonable level? Otherwise, it will just be back to square one. As for the provision of toilet paper, in the past, the toilet paper was very weak and dirty. Was of bad quality, and Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, ex-EXCO member, sent them to the labs, and the outcome was very bad. So, are the toilet papers up to standard? Do you have any testing results? In particular, the microbial levels of the toilet papers. Have you done any lab tests, and do you have any report on that? I agree with Mr. Oh on the public markets. There is a market management consultative committee. How can you let it play its role to the full? I think some funding should be given to the consultative committee so that they can assist in doing simple maintenance. Say, for example, replacement of a fluorescent tube. You may need to wait for 3 months at present. Or a ventilation fan is out of order and one has to wait for 2 years. Can you make improvements, say, through the consultative committee to speed up the process of maintenance? The Deputy Director. First, on the $600 million, are they adequate? In 2019-20, the 42 public toilets cost about $168 million. In 2020-2021, 49 public toilets, $149 million. 2021 to 2022, $160 million. So every year is about $150 million. So you know the money needed in launching the projects. We certainly look at the needs, and if the funds are exhausted, then we'll work through the mechanism to seek more money according to the needs and according to the situation. As maintenance, now through the mobile app, reports can be made and place order for maintenance. From placing order to completion of works we have kept track of the time, and we also ask our colleague to check on the quality of works. So we have data on the time needed, and also the standard, and that will be the basis for follow-up. As toilet papers, we understand your concern. There is no recognized international standards for toilet papers. In our contract, we set standards for toilet papers. GB 20810-2006 is the quality requirement. In that standard, there is a microbial requirement, and a certificate has to be obtained from a recognized lab in Hong Kong to make sure that the toilet papers are up to standard. We understand your concern. Now, if it is humid, then bacteria can grow very fast. So we need to maintain dryness in our toilets. We have introduced the nanotechnology, oxidation, ozone, and things like that to remove odor and reduce humidity. And that helps to improve air quality, and also helps to prevent the deterioration or slow down the deterioration of the quality of toilet papers. And the toilet papers will be replenished from time to time, and the attendants will also change the toilet papers if the toilet papers are dirty. There's some maintenance in public markets. We have already used the public toilet in the market as an example. Apart from regular maintenance, we also consider what works we can do in terms of maintenance. I've heard the views of the of members on consultative committee. We'll try to make use of the mechanism, try to get the job done. We'll work together to bring the standard of public markets up to standard. Second round, Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Chairman. I want to follow the question up. The DD referred to the hygiene of public markets. The stalls play a very important role in preventing rodent infestation. The way they store the food, the way they handle the refuse are important issues. They should be reminded. And law enforcement is also necessary. Concerning the data on law enforcement, are they related to environmental hygiene? How much of them are related to environmental hygiene? How many of the warning letters are related to that? And how many prosecutions are related to that? And how many contracts are terminated in relation to this? Law enforcement is very important. If they are stubborn and do not listen to any warning or advice, then something has to be done. That's my first question. My second question is this. In view of the difference in habits of using public toilets between males and females, in refurbishing public toilets, the ratio of cubicles between female toilets and public toilets is 2 to 1. Well, that's in the paper. Now you have identified 240 public toilets in the $600 million project. Will you adhere to the 2 to 1 ratio, or you will just you will consider the usage rate. Say some public toilets may be more frequently used by taxi drivers. I don't know how you deal with that and what standard you adopt.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me first take the question on the ratio of cubicles for men and ladies' toilets. And then I will take your question on prosecutions relating to environmental hygiene issues in public markets, the number of prosecutions or warnings. Earlier, the audit report recommends the government to review the ratio of cubicles in the gents' toilets and ladies' toilets. I think it is important to collect data, and earlier we used infrared and then subsequently sensors to count the toilet attendances. And for the smart public toilet, we will be able to get more data. For example, the duration of use by a toilet user. And with such data collected, we'll be able to conduct analysis on utilization ratio. The data will serve as reference. Like the member said, say in Robinson Road, there is a lay-by and taxi drivers tend to use that toilet for it is convenient for them. So the utilization of the gents' toilet may be higher than that of the ladies' toilet. Now, it also relates to the habit of users. Say if you have toilets in the nearby shopping malls, ladies tend to go to the shopping mall's toilet instead of the public toilet. So we need to first collect data in relation to the use of public toilets and the users' habits so that we can better address the recommendations put forward by the Audit Commission on the ratio of cubicles in gents' toilets versus ladies' toilet. And we'll be discussing with members by then. Prosecution. Let me respond to Mr. Chair on the market prosecution policy. Market tenants are required to sign a tenancy with us. They're required to observe the CAP 132 regulations and also the market ordinance. And if there is a contravention for 4 times without 12 months, then the tenancy will be terminated. Well, Chairman, in the interest of time, may I just cut to the chase? About environmental hygiene related figures, I'd like to have that, please, because they may be breaching other conditions of the license, leading to a termination of tenancy or prosecution. I just want to know the figure relating to today's topic, environmental hygiene. That's right. Very often the market tenants contravene the law by, for example, causing their goods to lay about and cause obstruction. And very often they breach the conditions in various ways. Like we mentioned just now, there were 11 such cases. So 4 prosecutions or 4 contraventions within 12 months will lead to prosecution. As for the tenancy agreement, after issuing 3 letters in half a year to the tenant, if no improvement is observed, the tenancy will be cancelled. So we monitor their performance in a number of ways: the environmental hygiene, the goods they sell, or the sundry items in their stalls that may lead to rodent infestation. So we observe them in a number of ways to see if the contraventions could lead to action. Chairman, my major concern is on environmental hygiene. It is important that enforcement action is taken. Of course, the tenant may be breaching a number of provisions in the law. I'm concerned about environmental hygiene in particular. If you could please provide supplementary information after the meeting. Because if your action is not rigorous, it may affect the effectiveness of your policy. If you only issue verbal warnings or advice, it would be very difficult to make sure that market stall tenants would improve or mend their ways and improve environmental hygiene. Finally, Chairman, often there are peak hours to using public toilets. For example, in Central, on weekends, toilets will be frequented by foreign domestic helpers. So I think you get the picture. There should be flexibility in making arrangements, responding to a smart public toilet that you mentioned. There should be smarter deployment of your staff. For example, in summer, you need to deploy more staff to manage beaches. So you need to take note of that for better use of your resources. I suppose the administration or the department is already taking this approach, right? Thank you for your comment on utilization. This is something we will keep in view and we will deploy resources. And we'll go back and consider matters such as places more frequently visited by foreign domestic helpers in Central. And about prosecution figures in public markets, again, I need to go back and dig them up. Very often it has to do with obstructing passageways or illegal shopfront extensions. As to whether we can break it down to cases relating to environmental hygiene, we need to go back and check first. Finally, let me just add to that. We are in midst of the epidemic, like Mr. Tony Che said. During weekends in Central, public toilets are heavily utilized. And we see this scenario for public toilets. Their exhaust fans would cause emissions directly facing the pavement, and even droplets would be emitted in such a manner. So would you consider improving public toilets to improve infection control? Because even in residential buildings, toilet could be a cause of transmission of the virus because of flushing the toilet without closing the lid, etc., or causing interference. Sometimes public toilets may be situated very close to a bus terminus. Do you have any measures to ensure that toilet users would not pose a risk to the toilet attendants or members of the public in the vicinity, so that their chance of infection will be minimized apart from the antimicrobial coating? Thank you, Chairman. Let me supplement 3 points. First, in light of the CHP's advice, Central Health Protection, we have the blower fans on the floor, but now we switch it off. Yes, please don't do that. It's hazardous. Yes, in light of the Center for Health Protection's advice, we have switched off the blower fans on the floor. Next, we also mount public education. We advise and we appeal to toilet users to close the lid when flushing the toilet. But there's no lid. Now, if you have a toilet seat, you should close the lid when you flush the toilet. Third, as I mentioned just now, our cleaners have stepped up their effort in cleansing toilets. For those with toilet attendants, once every 2 hours, they would use the 1:99 diluted household bleach to perform disinfection and cleansing of toilets. If this is done properly, we should be able to minimize the infection risk. All right, thank you. If there are no other issues, we can move on to the next item, enhancing the control work of mosquito and biting midge infestation. So, Deputy Director, over to you again. Thank you. The Undersecretary is coming in.
有個PPT 嘅，咁就係可以介紹。
You have a PPT, so please walk us through the PowerPoint presentation. Once the Undersecretary is ready, you can start the presentation, please. Let me welcome the Undersecretary and his team to our meeting. Would you walk us through the paper, please? Thank you. Mosquito control is an issue close to the heart of the public, and together with my team, we'd like to brief members on our control work of mosquito and biting midge infestation. The best way of eliminating mosquito is to take preventive measures. Before rainy season arrives, we need to weed out mosquito breeding places by having fogging operations to suppress the growth of adult mosquitoes. Well, biting midges is equally a major issue, and we are able to keep the index at a low level, and we only recorded one local dengue fever when it has become an endemic, and we have not recorded any cases for this year. And starting from the 12th of April 2021, we have rolled out the all-out anti-mosquito operations. Departments have strived to work at various places such as construction sites, public housing estates until the end of the rainy season. The FEHD will continue to deploy technology in enhancing their control measures and prevention measures. I will defer to the Deputy Director to give you more details on the work. Thank you. We have a PowerPoint. It's a short one. So with Chairman's permission, I will brief members on the control work of mosquito and biting midge infestation. The most effective control is to take preventive measures. And different government departments have been working separately and together in taking effective measures to combat mosquito and biting midge infestation. Next, I will brief members on the various measures adopted by the FEHD. First, on our strategy and the effectiveness of our measures. Having drawn on our reference, the most effective way of mosquito control is to take preemptive and preventive measures. As for the all-out anti-mosquito operations 2020, with the collaboration of departments, we have completed the scheme. We have eliminated altogether 69,771 breeding places of mosquitoes. As for the area gravity index, or AGI, only 5 areas recorded an exceedance of over 20%, and no area recorded any exceedance over 40%. In 2017, the FEHD received altogether 7,400 complaints, and by 2020 the number has gone down to 5,425. In other words, you will see the effectiveness of our work. And we also emphasize interdepartmental collaboration in combating infestation. Starting from the 12th of April 2021, we've rolled out the all-out anti-mosquito operations, and the departments have been taking regular inspection to eliminate potential mosquito breeding places, as well as fogging operations to suppress the density of adult mosquitoes and using or spraying larvicide. All these measures could greatly help eliminate the breeding places.
We also make use of technology. Apart from regular prevention measures, FGHD, together with other departments, have also set up over 5,500 new mosquito trapping devices. Say, in places where there are trees, dense shrubs and trees. We've also quantified the surveillance. Since April 2020, we've also adopted a newly designed gravid trap to replace the ovi traps. This will be very effective in counting the number of adult mosquitoes to enumerate the new gravid trap index and the density index. The GI is similar to the ovi trap index. They reflect the effective extensiveness of the distribution of Aedes albopictus in the survey area. The simplifying procedures have been shortened because of the shortening of surveillance, and we can therefore monitor the situation in a timely manner. Under the new DI, in comparison with the old one, now we can see the spread of the situation or problem. Now we are able to check on the density. That is the average number of adult Aedes albopictus in the survey area. Under the OI, we need the hedging of the eggs. But now we can count the adult mosquitoes directly, and therefore we have more timely results. We have the new gravid traps in place for just less than a year, so we will continue to monitor the situation and set a reference level for the index for the formulation of suitable measures. We've also enhanced some of our measures. First, prompt follow-up upon triggering of the alert level. If the alert level of 20% is reached, then we will take immediate action. Secondly, we will constantly update the list of hotspots. Departments will pay special attention to location of gravid traps with repeated positive findings, exceptionally high number of mosquitoes, and add them to the list of hotspots for fogging operation. Say, for example, the 12th of April all-out operation is an example. We also step up enforcement. Apart from routine anti-mosquito programs, we also step up inspection frequencies and take out prosecutions under the relevant legislation against mosquito breeding. As for prevention of midge infestation, in 2017-2018, the FGHD conducted a territory-wide survey of midges in Hong Kong. No biting midges species that could transmit diseases to humans was found. The WHO does not set any guidelines for systematic monitoring of midges. The breeding places of midges are somewhat similar to those of Aedes albopictus. Before the coming of the rainy season, we'll remove fallen leaves from soil surface or choke surface channels before rainy season. That would be effective towards the prevention of midges. FGHD has also issued technical guidelines on prevention and control of midges to HD Housing Department and LCSD. That will include keeping the moisture content of soil surface low by techniques like plowing or draining, removing refuse, fallen leaves, and other decaying vegetation on slopes or on lower beds, on flower beds, trimming on a regular basis dense growth vegetation to increase exposure of soil surface to sunlight and air. Apply residual insecticide of granules formulation at breeding places if environmental control means are not successful. When trapping devices are used, the device must be able to operate round the clock. All these measures have to be taken well before the biting midges become active in May. After the efforts in controlling biting midges have been in place, the number of biting midges cases have been reduced from 120 in 2017 to only 56 in 2020. We have also provided technical advice and training to other departments in the past 2 years. FGHD has provided a total of has provided many training courses and seminars to government departments and also management companies, altogether 16. And through these seminars and training courses, the knowledge of pest control is enhanced, and it also helps the contractors and also departmental staff to better manage venues to control midges and mosquitoes. We need the cooperation of all the departments and stakeholders and members of the public. And we are happy to listen to members' advice, valuable advice, and we will respond accordingly. Thank you. Members who have asked to speak, Ms. Quat, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman. In the past few years, I have worked with the FGHD staff on anti-mosquito campaigns, and it has been quite successful. As for the biting midges, we find it a problem when we have received more complaints about biting midges. Before May, the breeding season of midges, you have started to work with other departments to prevent the breeding of midges. So are all departments working together before May? I have received complaints, say in Hygiene, Monshan, Saikong, Cheongguano, the area where I work. The people are concerned about the problem of mosquitoes and midges. There are many black spots, and people are complaining about them. I just want to know what good and effective methods are there to eliminate midges and mosquitoes in Shatin, Wong Lai Tao, and Mei Chung Court. There are complaints. Seoul Court and Cheongguano, Saikong rural area, Cheongguano, the parks, and also vacant land. We receive complaints of mosquitoes and midges. In the past, you put up the stickers against midges. You are afraid of using that because of the effect on other insects. So is there any new technology to eliminate mosquitoes and midges? We've noticed that Israel, United States, and Australia have adopted new technology to eliminate mosquitoes and midges. So have you introduced new technology to do that? So have you already conducted the all-out anti-mosquito campaign throughout the territory? The DD. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for the view. I will give a reply to the general issues, and then my colleagues will speak on other aspects and in particular on technology. The member is right in pointing out that the midges are most active from May to November because the weather is warm and humid. They are active in these months. The WHO, we have taken reference from the WHO and other countries, and we have targeted measures. And they are similar to eliminating mosquitoes. We adopt environmental control to reduce the breeding grounds, and through education and supporting the departments, we encourage members of the public to participate in eliminating midges. In black spots, we will adopt a trapping and catching approach to reduce the number. That is very similar to other parts of the world. On the whole, to effectively control midges, we need to remove fallen leaves and decayed plants. We need to remove choked surface channels and sand traps. This is very effective in dealing with the problem. At black spots, we will adopt fogging method to remove the midges. Maybe my colleagues can supplement on the use of technology. Thank you, Chairman. Say, in the situation in the local districts, starting from March every year, we remind our districts to work with government departments, district offices to work with departments. We've also liaised with the LCSD and HD on removing removing sand from the choked channels. We also have regular meetings with the districts. The situation of midges and mosquito infestation brought up at the meetings regularly. In 2020, from July to March 2021, within 9 months, we conducted 53,900 fogging operations and removing the black spots, and also inspection more than 100,000 times. Joint operation for mosquito prevention, 600 such operations. As for midges, in 2020, we have 56 joint operations. Chairman, concerning midge complaints, the number is falling. In 2019, the number of complaints was 115, and in 2020, it dropped to 56. In 2021, as at the end of March, 8 complaints. It shows that the work has been effective, and there is a decline in number of complaints.
Chairman, I think the complaint figures aren't accurate at all, because for the number of complaints you received, well, I would say that the complaints we ward officers receive would far exceed those. Sometimes members of the public feel frustrated complaining with the government, and instead they turn to our ward officers for help so that we could take the government to task and request for improvement. So don't take it that you've improved the situation. I can tell you that at our ward offices we receive dozens of complaints. And when the midge infestation is really serious, as they receive a lot of complaints, please listen to us. If you base your view on the number of complaints your department receives, then, well, I would just direct all complainants to send the complaints to you instead. New technologies should be deployed in your mosquito and biting midge infestation control. Well, just now I heard about the conventional methods at the district level. You may have larvicide and the grain granules, but in other countries they may use new technologies. They do have a lot of studies, in fact. Let me give you some examples. They may have a tracking device for mosquito population, and they also have genetic engineering to make sure that the mosquito population can be controlled. And in Australia, they also have projects to inhibit the growth of mosquito population by meddling with their reproductive system so as to eliminate 80% of the mosquito population that may lead to dengue fever. Under Secretary, would you consider these technologies? I'll defer to Mr. Lee. Let me explain first and foremost that in 2016-2018, we also invited experts from the mainland to review the biting midges situation in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, for biting midges, from the perspective of public hygiene, it doesn't stand a high standing than mosquitoes. Hence, a lack of international studies on biting midges. That is why we take a more targeted approach in eliminating biting midges. In other words, in 2017-18, after conducting the survey, we obtained some data which have told us that 80% of complaints in relation to biting midges relate to special Taiwanese species, and they have a very special habitat. And in light of that, we have drawn up a series of recommendations for government departments. In our investigation, we would also trace the sources of biting midges. We conduct investigations, and we found that over 50% of the source of these complaints relate to dense vegetation in parks and sitting out areas, and we have therefore prepared a set of guidelines for the LCSD. It is not difficult if we take a targeted approach. Like the Deputy Director said, perhaps we can work on the soil because wet soil provides for biting midges to breed. So if we have good aeration of soil, if we allow plants to be less dense, it will be better. We can also use grains or granules to curb the midges, and these will be effective ways. Ms. Quat mentioned innovative methods to control the mosquito population, such as bacterial or genetic ways. We are looking into these options as well. In fact, around the world, the discussion on genetic modification is that there are reservations. So, because if we release substantially genetically modified mosquitoes into the environment, in the long run, we won't be able to gauge the consequence. As for other methods, we have the Robocare Bacteria. It's a naturally occurring bacteria in mosquitoes. After generations of breeding, according to some studies, this bacteria could help reduce the productivity of mosquitoes. Last year, we collaborated with a Chinese university. On a preliminary basis, we surveyed the mosquito population, the Aedes albopictus population carrying this bacteria in Hong Kong. After collecting the data, however, we need to take a further step, meaning that we need to conduct a further study. That is, in light of our local situation, how does it impact on the reproductive capability of the various species of mosquitoes. In Hong Kong, the major species of spreading dengue fever is Aedes albopictus. That it is still unknown whether the study applicable to the Egypt albopictus species could apply to Aedes albopictus. Mr. Tony Chair. Undersecretary Dr. Cho just now mentioned that only one local dengue fever case was recorded in the previous 2 years, possibly due to the concerted effort of government departments. Still, it is an infectious disease. And we are close to Southeast Asian countries. Dengue fever is actually an endemic in these countries. We need to be careful. Coming to breeding of mosquitoes, my concern is that we have construction sites in the sector I represent. In 2019, in relation to prosecutions relating to mosquito breeding places, 93% of these cases related to construction sites. This leaves much more to be desired. Chairman, you should know that I used to go to construction sites, and I would say that the mosquito infestation was really serious. I think we should bring this to the attention to contractors. They need to be vigilant as well. More information should be provided to bring them to the attention, bring it to their attention. So that's a matter of hygiene. You need to educate them, in other words. Second, Deputy Director mentioned collaboration with other organizations, property management companies, for example. It is just like construction sites. These are private premises, but we need their concerted effort to control mosquitoes. And Chairman, you are also members of the Property Services Authority, and perhaps we should organize talks and continuous training for the practitioners as well. You said that over the past 2 years you have been collaborating with the property management companies in running training courses or workshops. Now, I don't know how many companies actually take part in the seminars, because you need to instill in them the correct way of mosquito infestation control. So I hope the government will do something about it. It is important to educate the property management sector. I'd like to have the administration's response to my 2 questions. And the Secretary. I'd like to give you a succinct response, Mr. Chair, and then I'll defer to my colleagues to give you the details. I thank you for the very astute observation. There was only one case recorded in the past 2 years back then. However, there were 29 cases in 2018, and we had a working group comprising the representatives of 3 bureaus and the various government departments, and we attach great importance to the issue, and that is we circulated information internally to enhance the control work of mosquito and midge infestation. So we're absolutely in the clear that we need to be vigilant. We engaged an expert back then who reminded us that Hong Kong is situated around different Southeast Asian countries, with dengue fever being the endemic, and we therefore need to sustain our effort. Deputy Director, like Undersecretary said, in 2018 there was a surge of local dengue fever cases. We liaised with the property management sector. We had meetings and we exchanged information and see how we could enlist the help. For example, how they could encourage their practitioners to actively take part in our efforts, and through different channels we maintain liaison with them. As for the FEHD, we have dedicated teams to inspect construction sites. We can take enforcement action and initiate prosecution on potential mosquito breeding grounds. We initiated 173 prosecutions in 2018, 162 related to construction sites. Apart from prosecution, at the time, the Food and Health Bureau and the FEHD also contacted the industry. Principal contractors and subcontractors alike. We provided public education and publicity so that they would attach more importance to mosquito control and prevention at construction sites. By taking this two-pronged approach, we hoped to achieve our goal of combating mosquito infestation. So has there been any improvement despite all the work since 2019? We're now in 2021. Perhaps after the meeting we can provide statistics collected in 2020 on public education and prosecution as well. Mr. Wilson Orr. What about property management? Yes, Mr. Chair asked about the Property Services Management Authority, which is concerned about this issue as well. So perhaps you can liaise via the authority as well. Mr. Chair, let me give you some figures. We conducted 158 prosecutions, 154 related to construction sites. There were fewer prosecutions. We believe that this is due to improvement. Still, I think it is of a very high proportion. Perhaps you should collaborate with the CIC. You prosecute construction sites most of the time. I think this is not desirable. It seems that there is still more to be desired. Thank you, Chairman and Member. That is why, as mentioned just now, we are happy to listen to views of the member, and if need be, we can liaise with the various parties to set up publicity and education. Mr. Wilson Orr, I hope that the FEHD would keep up with its good work. Despite the figures coming down, we should be vigilant. We should not be complacent. Mosquitoes, biting midges, rodents, these are all real livelihood problems. That is, at the district level, we always urge the government to improve the situation. We can use technology, of course, but we need to tackle the problem at source, and that is a step of collaboration, cooperation among government departments. You have an interdepartmental meeting comprising different policy bureaus and departments. Honestly, I don't think the work is effective. Are you able to step up your effort? I'd like to listen to your suggestions as well, because for rodents, mosquitoes, biting midges, they don't tend to stay in the same place. And you look at the ovitrap index to look at the how serious the problem is, but you don't place all the devices everywhere. So is there room for improvement?
Looking ahead, concerning technical support or training, you only provided 16 of them in 2 years. And so less than once a month. Is it too little? Concerning technical advice, training, seminar, can that be done regularly? Now, the information comes to your PowerPoint. According along that direction, in this area, on this item, how can you strengthen your efforts? Number one, interdepartmental cooperation with rewards and punishment. Say maybe put up a plaque, base a housing estate. If they are not doing well, step up your prosecution. 100 or so cases of prosecution aren't enough. If they fail, then you should prosecute them. You just give them technical advice, you just do coordination. Well, that's not adequate. If there is no penalty, people will not work hard to make improvements. Say if you give warning, but they do not cooperate, and you don't take action, then it's just condoning their behavior. So how are you going to improve that? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. O. Interdepartmental or multi-departmental cooperation are very important. In July 2018, the committee has been expanded to become the Committee for the Prevention of Mosquitoes and Rodents. And many government departments are involved, and they also have different roles to play. As for this interdepartmental platform, what have we done? First, in 2018, the local small-scale outbreak of dengue fever took place. Some government departments in the past didn't attach importance to elimination of rodents and mosquitoes. So on that platform, we stress the importance of that. And in 2019 and 2021, we work with 7 major government departments which have to deal with mosquitoes and rodents. FGHD, the ACSD, Highways Department, LCSD, WSD, so on and so forth. In the past, they didn't have much resources, and we have obtained more resources for them. They enhanced their manpower. They did more frequent cleansing and removal of mosquitoes and rodents. They step up inspection and monitoring of projects. They also step up publicity and education. That's among government departments. As I mentioned in the rodent issue, this is related to contract management. Not every department works on elimination of mosquito by their own staff members. They rely on contractors. If they have contractors, then the issue of contract management arises. In the past 2 years, we have been improving upon that, and we have issued model contracts and share our advice with the departments. Their modus operandi, the number of staff members, training, use of equipment, management, reward and punishment of contractors, all the issues we've taken up with the departments, and in renewing their contracts, these details will have to be included. AVHD experts also share the experience and knowledge with the departments concerned. Say, for example, we have used the new graphite traps, and we deployed 5,500 such traps throughout the territory. We started with the AVHD. Through actual testing, the device was well received, and therefore the device has been extended to other government departments, including the Housing Department and LCSD. These are examples of interdepartmental efforts in handling the issue. The DD, I made 2 points. Details have been provided by the Undersecretary. As for contracts, we have shared our experience with the Housing Department and the government departments on contract management. The departments work through the contractors to eliminate mosquitoes. If the contractors do not perform, we can prosecute the contractors, and we did so. The Undersecretary referred to the work of the Steering Committee. Throughout the 18 districts, there are task forces. We have a monitoring system. When we check on the index and when the 20% threshold was breached, then we'll take action because we know the location of the graphite traps. Through the monitoring system, when the threshold is exceeded, the Environmental Hygiene Office will call interdepartmental meetings and takes up the matter with the departments and try to control and put down the index. We work with the departments, we take up prosecution, we give advices, we also do publicity. We adopt a multi-pronged approach. In dealing with the mosquito problem, so that the problem is controlled. Mr. Xiu, please be brief. Just a short point. Now, concerning the complaints against mosquito infestation, there has been a decline from 7,471 in 2017 to only 5,425 in 2020. As for midges, 120 in 2017, 104 in 2018, 115 in 2019, and 56 in 2020. It seems that it has declined substantially in 2020. What were the reasons? Was it because we have set up this subcommittee? No, we didn't. We weren't set up at that time. What's the reason for the big drop? Halved. The complaint was halved. What happened in 2020? What did you do? Why the mosquitoes and midges disappeared? Because he has become the DD. She has become the DD. Mr. Lee. So midges, if you can recall, in 2016 it was a heated topic. In 2016, the number of complaints was very high. In 2017-18, we did a survey. In response to the survey, we formulated some guidelines. And starting from 2019, we issued the guidelines to the departments. After the departments received the guidelines, they took some targeted measures and reduced the number of complaints gradually. As the mosquitoes, as referred to by the Undersecretary, in 2018 there was an outbreak, and then every year since then we have a campaign against mosquitoes, and you can see the effectiveness of the campaign since 2019. These may be the reasons for the gradual decline of the numbers. Looking at the numbers, complaints of mosquitoes against mosquitoes has declined substantially. But recently, and this year, it seems that there are much more mosquitoes. I hope you can keep up with your good work. Now, the LCSD venues are not looked after by FEHD. The LCSD, I think, should be something you should look at. I visit the parks and usually check on the courtyards to see if there are any pools of water. Now they spray mosquito oil. I've noticed that the LCSD colleagues pour a lot of mosquito oil on the manholes and also on the ground. But I think even some children may come into touch with such mosquito oil. I think it's a waste of resources. You shouldn't just pour them on top of the manhole covers. You should pour the mosquito oil on the pool, on the pools of waters on the ground. So have you provide training to your colleagues in other departments in the use of the insecticides? In 2019 or 2018, we organized a lot of training courses for the housing department and LCSD. Staff of various grades attended. The message can be brought back to their departments. The staff members may be transferred. So we consider making videos as training materials for new staff members, so they can watch the videos and know the subject. In the future, we'll continue to provide training courses. Yes, just a quick point. Yes, it's good to have videos, but you have to get it to the front line. Say in your department, if you produce a video, you give it to the AD, then AD give it to the superintendent. So how many have watched the videos? Can you make sure that they watch the videos and send it to the LCST and make sure that their staff members on the front line also watch the videos and do some checking on that? Thank you for the advice. If they have seen the videos, we may ask them, say, to answer some questions. Okay, just a suggestion. Finally, now every time I see this photo, legs bitten by midgets, I hope that you will not be too ready to congratulate yourself for your work. Now in 2020, schools are closed and the children are not allowed to play in the playground. We're not allowed to play in the playground, so you shouldn't be come too early to congratulate yourselves. I think those in the rural area also hope that the department can provide them with some help, say, give them some insecticides. Well, that may be one way. They live in the rural area. They may not be able to purchase insecticides, but the insecticides are rather safe. They can be put in the drains, and that helps to remove the mosquitoes. Will you consider that?
後面啊，
Deputy Director or Mr. Lee? Now, I'll give a response. After all, this insecticide is such that from the department's point of view, we don't encourage the use of granule insecticide for extensive use without guidelines. As for the problem in rural areas, I think our frontline staff is also aware of the issue. We have for example, new trapping device, and we tested this device in village houses in the new territories. And after it was tested effective, our frontline officers installed these new trapping devices in not so much inside the village houses, but in the common areas in the rural villages, which could help improve the environment in general. That wraps up today's meeting. I do not have anything under AOB, so we should wait for the administration to provide supplementary paper and consider how and when we should hold the next meeting. If need be, we'll write to you about follow-up matters. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Under Secretary and your team. Thank you.